But there's another team that wasn't that lucky here tonight. The Dodgers going down 0-2 to the Dbacks, losing both of their games at home. What went wrong for the Dodgers?
Pitching. And this was my worry about the Dodgers heading into the postseason. They're pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Who do they turn to? Clayton Kershaw is not the Clayton Kershaw that's going to go into the Hall of Fame.
No.
He's out there throwing upper 80s to 90 right now. He's not the same guy. Bobby Miller, I love Bobby Miller, but no experience in the postseason. What are you going to get out of the kid in his first start in the postseason? The odds of him coming out and dominating in his first ever postseason start, not great. And then follow up what he did to what he saw happen to Clayton Kershaw. I would have much rather see Bobby Miller throw game one because I think he has playoff stuff. And then he had to go out and watch what Clayton Kershaw did and get rocked in that first start. When we all know right now at this point in their careers, Bobby Miller has better stuff than Clayton Kershaw. I would have loved for Dave Roberts to say, Bobby, you are our guy. And if we're going to get to the World Series, it's going to be because we believe in you and the stuff you have. Instead, he ended up going game two the day after getting Clayton Kershaw rocked out there. We all know he had his 1.62 ERA after his start. Well, after two starts, the Los Angeles Dodgers have a team starting pitching ERA of 42. You're not going to win many games when you're giving up 6 earned runs and getting 0 outs, and then 3 earned runs and getting 5 outs in a start if you're Bobby Miller. It's the pitching. It has been atrocious, and that it just had to be better. It was my worry all along, and it has been just what I expected it to be.
I mean, they combined for 2 innings between the two of them to start. Their first 2 starters combined for 2 innings, and it was the team's worst start through 2 games in postseason history.
Yeah.
Like, it is brutal. So at this point, I mean, obviously the pitching wasn't there, but the hitting wasn't there either. When your star guys aren't showing up, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, you have to question, when the starting pitcher struggled the way they did, does that have an effect on the hitting at all?
It absolutely does. And yes, you can ask me what the big concern is, and I can tell you it's the pitching. A 40.25 ERA for the starters over their first 2 playoff games, the worst in baseball history.
Yeah.
Okay? But what that also affects, obviously, we know giving up runs is not good for your team. You want to win games, give up less runs. But what it also does, Alex, is it affects the offense. And myself personally, playing in a game, when I go out in the field, game starts, I'm all pumped up, ready to go. By the time I can even turn around and look at the crowd, it's 3-0, and then we have to go hit. What that does is makes everybody in the lineup press.
Yeah.
Because you're not sticking with your normal approach. You feel like you need to do more than your normal approach, and when you're trying too hard and doing more, that really doesn't work ever in life, right? You're there for a reason. Keep that going. But when you're giving up runs and runs and runs early in the game, the offense feels like they're constantly playing catch up, and you can't ever catch up. Add on top of that Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman have been awful in this series. Yeah. They are the team. They're the MVP guys.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts doesn't have a hit in the series. Freddie's got a hit in the series. Mookie Betts, going back to the 2022 playoffs, is hitting 130 in the postseason. This is a problem. When you look at this Dodgers team, and this is why earlier in the year I said the most important duo to their team's offense is Mookie and Freddie. Why? Because their lineup isn't as deep as the Atlanta Braves, right? 1 through 9. Their lineup has 2 of the best hitters of all time in it.
Yeah.
But if they're not hitting, they're screwed. And that's what we're seeing right now. Mookie and Freddie aren't hitting. It's a snowball effect. The pitching is struggling. Mookie and Freddie probably feel like we're the leaders of this team. We have to do more. If you go out and get a shutdown inning in the first inning and then your team can come to the plate in a tie game in front of your home crowd that's still piling in off the 405 out here in Los Angeles, they're still all filing in. They didn't even see the top half of the first. Then they get in there and Mookie's at the plate and you're like, great, you're just in time. Mookie hits a homer. The vibes are totally different. But going out there and giving up those runs, it really does. Trust me, it really affects the offense and the way they go about their at-bats, and we're seeing that right now.
Well, then another question for you, because we saw two of the top offenses in the regular season really struggle in the first two games. The Braves finally figured it out in the 7th inning tonight, but the Dodgers still haven't figured it out. How much does that 5-day off rest period affect their timing in the box?
Look, I really do think this is becoming a factor, and I've been saying it since this format got implemented last year.
Yeah.
This is going to be a thing. This off day, these 5 days off, is not good. And I'm not criticizing the format. I love the format currently, actually. But teams are going to have to figure it out. John Smoltz said as much recently on the show. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out, right? The Astros have figured it out, and we'll talk about them in a second. That series is 1-1, but they won game 1, right? The first game after that layoff, and they did last year as well. So what do these other teams need to do to figure it out? Because now, for a couple of years in a row, we see these teams come out of the gates and struggle. And if you're out there saying, well, you do have, you just, that doesn't amount to anything. Like, it's baseball. Let me tell you something. I played baseball for a long time. I played baseball 5 years professionally. When you're playing professional baseball, you play 142 games.
Yeah.
There was one year I played 142 games in about 150 days.
Yeah.
So those off days are rare.
Yeah.
Now, I could tell when I would go up to the plate after an off day, I could tell it's just a little bit off, right? Your eyes don't adjust the same. Your swing feels just a little tick off. Your timing feels just a smidge off. After one off day, I could tell every single time, especially when you're playing every single day. You can tell when something's off. So to throw 5 off days at you, well, that just gets more and more and more every day. So it really matters what you're doing in that downtime, and scrimmages are tough to implement what you're feeling in an actual game. It really does matter. And 5 days is a long time. And look at what we're seeing with these teams. The Atlanta Braves, offense wasn't there in game 1. And it wasn't there for the first 6-7 innings of game 2. The Baltimore Orioles, offense was not there in game 1.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Dodgers, you're not going to win playoff games by scoring 4 runs in 2 games. 4 runs total in 2 games. That ain't going to cut it. These offenses have come out sluggish, and it really does affect your timing when you're in that box and you've been off for a couple of days. Alex, I'm serious. People have thought I'm joking about this when I say it.
Yeah.
When you're facing 100 miles an hour, it's 100 miles an hour. You have hundredths of a second to read the pitch, adjust, and swing. I'm legitimately in the box facing 100, timing my blinking.
Yeah, you have
Pitcher's coming set, I'm timing my blinking, because if my blinking is off, I'm screwed. I'm done. So when you have that off day, it really just kind of affects everything your body knows and does. When you have 5 in a row, it really affects it. So yes, these off days, they really are affecting teams. And I hope teams of the future realize, look, we got to do something. We got to do something different, because what we've been doing, it hasn't been working.
No.
So
and
we're
seeing it with all the top seeds.